no further ado, here is Maureen Muldoon to clearly share the word.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's so nice to be here amongst so many beautiful friends and so many beautiful beings, you know? I mean, just the consciousness. I was just drinking in, you know, the music and drinking in Carly's gifts and just your presence here and Richard's presence here. It's just so nice, you know, that we've all become friends. Carly and I met in Ireland. We did yoga together. She bent me like a pretzel. Mary and I got to hang out in Ireland. If you're new to this community and you're looking to connect, you join one of the classes, the smaller groups, you know, like the Artist Way or like the Romancing Your Soul for 28 Days, because you'll get to connect with people and get to know people. And you can't microwave friendship. That's what my minister told me a long time ago, which I really didn't like to hear because I really wanted to microwave friendship. But, you know, these things take a little time. So anyway, it's really good to be here. We are talking about clarity, and I appreciate your acknowledgement of my own clarity. That was not always the truth. And we all have these gifts of clarity. You have specific gifts of clarity. At the end of this talk, I'm going to go through the 4 doorways of clarity that are most noted and see where you might have greater gifts. But so hang in for that. And I'd love to hear what you have to say about these doorways of clarity. So last night I was actually preparing this talk, and as it happens sometimes, I was getting nowhere, and my husband was like chatting away at me, and I was trying to work, and I felt torn between, you know, my goal of, you know, wanting to be kind in the present moment to him, and also like knowing that I had to like really sit down and listen. And he was attempting to be kind by giving me space, but for some reason I felt very torn. And I was not clear. I was not hearing what the Holy Spirit wanted to share with me, probably because I wasn't listening. I was running down the block with my own agenda. So I was completely unclear. And I was this sort of unclear messenger who was attempting to bring a message of clarity. That's not going to be successful. You know what I mean? Because as we know in A Course in Miracles, you can't give what you don't have, which is such a great reminder to us all. You can't give what you don't have. So finally, I closed my computer and I made peace with what was in the present moment. My husband wanted to spend time together. Great. I'll work on this later. I surrendered. That's a major word for a threshold of clarity, is surrender. So we made dinner, we started talking, and then we turned on the TV to watch a little something. And we came across this movie, this little short called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. And suddenly, as we watched it, everything became so clear. And that's the ticket. Clarity comes from surrender. This movie is a 30-minute, if you haven't seen it, it's also based on a beautiful book, hugely popular right now, 30-minute animation. And it's just beautiful, even just to watch. And it's about this boy who is lost and can't find his way back home. And I think this movie, this book, kind of really hits the bells within us because we've all felt that way. You know, feeling lost is the state of unclarity. And so we've all felt that way. And in fact, in the Course in Miracles, it speaks right to it in lesson 182. It says, we speak today for everyone who walks the world, for he is not at home. He goes uncertainly about in an endless search, seeking in darkness for what he cannot find, not recognizing what it is he seeks. 1,000 homes he makes, yet none content his restless mind. He does not understand, he builds in vain. The home he seeks cannot be made by him. There's no substitute for heaven. So this home that we seek is not something that we make. It's something that's already created by love. And at the end of the movie about the boy and the mole, he finds his home of love in a very interesting place. So there's so many gems in this movie if you haven't seen it already. And, you know, maybe at the end during the conversation, you can share your gem during the conversation. But there's a part when the boy's asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he says, kind. And I just love that. And then the horse says, nothing beats kindness. It sits quietly beyond all things. And so in this year of kindness, that's our theme at SpeakEasy for this year, kindness. I just appreciated the suggestion that we all feel lost, sometimes, and that there is also a consistent kindness that sits quietly beyond all things. It's like this container that we're held in. And when we know that we're held in this container of kindness, it shifts us into greater revelations. In fact, Einstein said, the most important decision that we can make is whether or not you live in a friendly or hostile world. Are you aware of the state of kindness that is supporting you? Recognizing that we live in a friendly world, that kindness sits quietly beyond all things, can actually help to usher in clarity. Because as Bella was saying, when you feel, stuck or stagnant, you close down instead of open up. So yeah, our topic today is clarity. And last week we discussed the benefits of forest bathing. And I hope that I inspired you to go into the woods last week. And if not, I just want to share one more bit of benefit of forest bathing, which is just walking in the woods. And that is clarity. True clarity is the threshold to heaven. This past summer, I had this experience where I was walking in another woods. Bella was there. Regina was there. Kate Miller, who's awesome. She is the leader of Death Cafe. If you're grieving over something, make sure you sign up for that one. We were walking in the woods and Regina said, let's go sit in the woods and ask for direction. You live amongst a bunch of woo-woo hippies when somebody makes that, like, let's do that. So we did. We found this little cove of trees, and then Regina led this beautiful meditation. And she said, we're going to ask for guidance. And the guidance that I got was, and it came clear, when you sit, it comes really clear. The more you surrender, the more you'll remember. The more you surrender, the more you'll remember. My inner teacher is a bit of a poet, so when I share this with you, it's that's how it comes for me. And I share it with you because this little recipe, the more you surrender, the more you'll remember, is the perfect recipe for clarity. So what is it that we're supposed to surrender? Well, basically, for starters, everything. I hate to break the news to you, but we need to be guidable. We need to be open. We need to get all of the alternative altars out of the way so that we can really have this beautiful, clean slate through which the divine can write its messages upon. Love wants us and for us something so much better than what we're trying to press into the palms of God. So when we come armored up, with our desires and our wishes and our manifestations, and we're trying to press them into form, we leave no space for the mystical and the mystery. And so the next level of consciousness, manifesting, great, wonderful. We all did it. The secret, great. It was wonderful, right? But the next level is to move into like channeling, to let go of all that you think you know or that you want. So, and when we surrender our will to God's, we don't just demonstrate our love for God, but we demonstrate our trust in a friendly universe. For all of our scavenging and running around and trying to get, it comes from a place of lack and limitation, of not having. But if you knew that you had, so we surrender. And it's best to surrender everything. Mickey Singer, who will be visiting in Florida, if you've signed up for the Florida retreat, the author of The Surrender Experiment, basically the guy who wrote the book on surrender, he says, the only permanent solution to your problems is to go inside, let go of the part of you that seems to have so many problems with reality. And once you do that, you'll be clear enough then to deal with what's left. It's such a beautiful demonstration. In another section of his book, he says, once you're willing to let go of yourself, life becomes your friend, your teacher, your secret lover. When life's way becomes your way, all the noise stops and there's great peace. So again, this takes trust. But if we are in the state of fearfulness, like I need to get my own, which is where I came from, resourceful Jersey girl, we're not going to have that openness in the Course in Miracles in Lesson 48 says there's nothing to fear. How safely the world will look to me when I can see that this is true. It will not look anything like what I imagined. Everything and everyone I see will bend toward me to bless me. Even eventually, all of the foxes. And if you read the book, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, there's this fox who's very hungry and he's going to eat the mole. But then by the end of the book, even the fox becomes a dear friend. And that's what the Course says in Lesson 48. It says, I will recognize everyone is my dearest friend. It's nice, right? To be able to cultivate that kind of thought system. When I came in here this morning and I looked through the tapestry of all the little boxes, I was like, oh, Chris is here. Oh, the other Chris is here. Oh, Christy's here. I seem to name a lot of people with the name Chris, but I was looking at all the people and I was like, oh, I love that guy. Oh, I love that woman. It's nice to be able to cultivate a space where everyone is your dearest friend. Again, I did not always roll with this. You know, I went through many processes, one of them being the 12 step, where I was invited to go make amends so that I didn't have to walk into any room ever feeling like there would ever see anybody who I owed an amends to, or who was, you know, somebody that I wasn't in dearest friendship with. And that's a process, but it's a worthy process and direction. So this is how the little boy decides to see the world. He comes to recognize it, and his dearest friends show up for him. Byron Katie says it this way. She says, the world as you perceive it to be she says, the world is as you perceive it to be. She says, for me, clarity is a word for beauty. I know that Bella is very much into the beauty way, and I love this quote. Clarity is another word for beauty. And then she goes on to say, it's what I am, which is very true for her. I mean, she is just like this clear channel of beauty, Byron Katie. And she says, when I'm clear, I see only beauty. Nothing else is possible. So wouldn't clarity be a worthy state to move towards? Clarity is a word for beauty. It's what I am. When I'm clear, I see only beauty. Like, I'm going to cut and paste that and put that in the chat so you can use that for an affirmation during this week. In the film, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, it's, first of all, it's a really beautifully aesthetic film, but it's the way the boy transforms that fearful fox into friends, you know, and the way that the boy listens to the truth that eventually leads him to his home. And we see, if you want clarity, you know, you have to begin to transform your fears. You can't have fear and clarity. Fear is foggy. It's confusion. Love is clear. And they say that love is blind, but it's only blind to that which is not love. And so it sees what's real, and what's real is really beautiful. And when we remove all the blocks and all the illusions of duality, we'll not just have clarity, but we'll have enlightenment. You could say that clarity is enlightenment, because there's nothing blocking the light from illuminating and extending truth. And truth is clarity. And clarity is the state of being one with all things, at peace with all things. Clarity is the way that we walk in beauty. So again, I'm going to give you those 4 little doorways into clarity, but think of this. Clarity is truth. So, and yet, you know, like the boy, we can feel or forget ourselves. We can forget ourselves and we can get confused. And where do I go? Who am I? What am I doing? There's 1,000, you know, libraries filled with 1 billion. What color is my parachute? You know, who's my soulmate? You know, all of these. What's my Enneagram number? We have a lot of support around seeking and seeking and seeking. And so we have to begin to let go of that. We forget ourselves. We begin to fear, and we begin to think that we're alone. And we get confused, and we begin to think that we're not enough and that we need to be more or do more or get more. And yet we're exactly where we need to be, right here and right now. And when we get to right here and right now, what was once fearful becomes beautiful. So like when I sat last night on the couch, when I wasn't there, I was thinking about, I have to get. And finally it was like, close your computer, be right here. So we're not seeing a beautiful world when we're in that state. And if we're not seeing a beautiful world, that would be an invitation to surrender something. One of the major things that needs to be surrendered is the seeking and the need to know. The need to know is an addiction. And now with Google, at our fingertips, we all have the ability to be these like armchair experts in everything. But I don't think that's making us any wiser. What makes us wiser is to surrender the need to know. And I know it seems to be almost the opposite of clarity, but there's actually a refreshing release that comes from honoring the truth. And the truth is that even with 1 million Googles and 1 trillion libraries, I'm 100% clear that I don't know anything. And that, my friend, is humbling, but freeing. The road ahead is unknown by all of us. We never know what's coming around the bend. And so this admission allows us to have unity and transparency. You see, we're not alone in this mysterious and this precarious state. Everyone is in this state. Even the people who are supposed to know something don't. They don't. And the wise ones will admit to it, like Plato, like Einstein. When COVID arrived, there was no safety bubble for anybody who was in the know. We all got baptized and none of us saw it coming, and no one was exempt. It tapped on the shoulders of presidents and pedestrians, and we all learned to surrender, thinking that we knew. But the ones who claimed, oh, I know this, or I know that about this, those were the ones who suffered the most. Think about that. The ones who let go and went with the flow kind of wrote it out. But the ones who made meaning of this and who continue to make meaning of anything are suffered. They will suffer. As we surrender all that we think we know, we'll get to remember our most holy self. So what is it that we want to remember? We want to remember our connection to each other. Every one of us, even the foxes in our lives. Our holiness, we want to remember. Our innocence, we want to remember. We want to remember how well God loves us, how well God supplies for us. This awareness can't come from a mind that's holding on to anything. A mind that's holding is a mind that's in hell. The Buddhists say that all suffering comes from attachment. You probably know this to be true in your own life. So why would we hold on to anything when you know that you have everything? Surrender, remember. To find clarity, we need to give up seeking. And the Indigo Girls sing it this way. We go to the doctors, we go to the mountains, look to the children, drink from the fountains. Yeah, we go to the Bible, go through the workout, read up on revival, stand up for the lookout. There's more than one answer to these questions, pointing me in a crooked line. And the less I seek my source for some divinity, closer I am to find. So that's you and me. The less I seek, the more I find. It's an oxymoron, but it's just wonderful. The less I seek, the more I find. The less I seek, the more I know. Seeking is the thing that needs to be surrendered more than anything. Last night, when I was seeking for what to share, it took my stillness, stilling my quest, that allowed what would or should be shared to come and just curl up on my lap. That's probably happened for you too. When you finally surrender on the bathroom floor and you're like, help, I'm done. I don't know how to do this. I really don't know anything. Then it's like, okay, she's ready. So it seems that we were born to question because we do. It seems like we were born to seek because we do. We seek for God in churches and temples and ashrams and synagogues and relationships. And we seek for sanity and sobriety and clarity in 12-step meetings. We seek to become unblocked and, Artist Way and A Course in Miracles. We seek for clarity in the stars and we pull cards and we have coaching sessions. And these are lovely, very lovely. They're companions like the ones that walk with the boy in that story, but they're only fingers pointing us closer to clarity. And clarity brings us closer to find. And when we gain clarity, it feels like we've grown a few feet taller. You ever feel like that when you do arrive at clarity? Doesn't it just feel like you've just grown a few feet taller? We've been lifted like the boy lifts the mole in the story, and he holds him in the tree branch, and he gets to see a grander, greater vantage point. And then we get this clarity. We have a broader understanding of the issues that once haunted us or baffled us, but it doesn't come from the external world. It actually comes from us being still. And for this growth and for this awareness, we usually do go to great lengths, because the absence of clarity in our bones feels like hell. You know, the ego plays this game, seek and do not find, and it's absolute hell. The state of stagnation is very painful, and confusion is possibly one of the greatest pains of all. The pain of unrequited love is confusing. That period of pain that comes in the question of like, why is this happening to me? Or why is he not calling me? Or, you know, why is she ghosting me? Or why is there no significant other in my life? Or where is my home? Or where am I supposed to be? You know, I mean, that confusion. I remember moving from California to Chicago and thinking, where am I supposed to live? How am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? Like, I was just all trying to figure it out on my own. You know, trying to look at the charts and the statistics and the places to live. And none of that really gets us to where we're supposed to be. In fact, in the movie, there's this big storm, and the horse says, you know, during the big storms, when things are in chaos, you know, focus on the little things right under your nose. I think that's such good advice. Because I might not know about the big grand meaning or what lives on the horizon, but I know where my shoes are. I know who's sitting next to me. You know, can I just be there? I think it's really hard for us all to accept the true fact that we are all on a need-to-know basis when it comes to life. And we're not in charge of the past or the future, and our domain is right here and right now. And that is the last place that my ego wants me to be. So it distracts me with 1,000 other things on the horizon. And yet, if we've been encouraged to know that our good is at hand, we can move past the addiction of looking over the horizon or looking to the past. And even the experience of nowness, we get this experience of presence. And in presence, there's power. And in power and presence, there's purpose. And so although you've read all of these books about what is my purpose, it's all going to come down to you being still and listening. So we've been given a map to follow. We have not been left out in the forest to scavenge for ourselves. We've been given a map through A Course in Miracles, probably other maps as well. The Artist's Way has a couple maps, but the one in A Course in Miracles is to simply ask every day, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? And to whom? That has nothing to do with my to-do list. That has nothing to do with my goals or my aspirations. That means I have to take all of that off the table and just ask, Holy Spirit, higher power, Divine Mother, like, what would you have me do for you? It's a very beautiful practice. And again, it's a daily practice that helps us to surrender, because I'm surrendering all I think I need to do. And having a practice of asking is one thing. Having a practice of asking and following is another thing. In the Artist's Way, she suggests morning pages. If you've never done this, it's just another type of spiritual practice. And if you haven't signed up for the Artist's Way, you can still do that. Also, like I said, Regina has that 28 Days of Romance that she's supporting with Lisa. But these are just daily practices. We have the Course in Miracles. We have a lot of rich opportunities for daily practice here. All of them are great, but none of them work if you don't use them. So I write every day. You know, I'm not just a writer by profession, but it's my spiritual compass. The daily practice of writing helps me to remain clear, open to inspirations and interpretations of signs and symbols. And you might have your own tools. And if you do, please share them during the conversation. We'd love to hear what those clarifying tools are. But I want to close this with a few ways that you could access a greater degree of clarity. When I'm working with people, I do get clear messages. But here's the thing. I get clear messages, but only because maybe because I've cleared some of the wreckage of my past, but also just as the way the Holy Spirit works with me. My husband does not. He does not get those clear messages, but it comes to him in a different way. He has like more of a knowing, like when he's out of alignment and it doesn't feel good. he can, make a choice or move towards his clarity by what's not working and by his feelings. Some people get downloads. Some people hear, messages in music. In the Maiden Voyage, we cover some of these aspects of listening, but I'm going to break them down, these 4 little doors, they call them. So these are the 4 doors to intuition or greater clarity. And again, this is not like a crazy 8-ball type of thing. This is not a Ouija board thing. This is nothing to be afraid of. Clarity is not to be used solely for yourself. It is the act of letting go of everything that you are so that you can be used for a greater good for everyone. Your clarity benefits everyone. So the first one is clairaudience. We actually talked about that last week. Clairaudience is the ability to connect with spirit through deep listening. Clairaudience can feel like maybe like a voice or internal realm of your mind. It's not crazy talk. It has nothing to be, it's nothing to be feared. The voice is always impeccable, peaceful, loving, gentle, and helpful, and succinct. Like whenever I get a clear message, it's always like 2 words. It's like, stop that or go there. It's not, it's not heavy. So that would be considered hearing truth. When we talk about clairaudience, it's about hearing truth. When we talk about clairvoyance, it's about seeing truth. When we talk about clairsentience, it's about feeling truth. And when we talk about the final one, it's about knowing truth. So, Clairvoyance is actually connected to sometimes psychic abilities, which is extremely being able to tune into abilities or to see, events for people. But they're not always related to psychic abilities, because clairaudience is simply the gift of vision. You might be a vision caster. You might be somebody who gets inspirations on possibilities that have yet taken form, like almost postcards from the future. And if that's your gift, that's a beautiful gift that can help you to move into greater clarity. These visions or knowings may come as images or, signs or symbols. It may feel like a deja vu or, the knowing of a future experience. I know Bella, taps into her knowing by placing her hand on her heart and saying what is this knowing for me? So it's, you might be doing this already in many areas of your life. Clairsentience is feeling the truth. Like I said, that's probably more of what my husband does, where you're open to picking up vibrations. Again, we all have this. You walk into a room, you can tell the vibe in the room. You can feel the temperature of the room. And we talk about gut intuitions or instincts. We can easily be able to read the experience through listening with all that we are. Claircognizance is knowing the truth, which is simply a knowing. And it's hard to explain, but it's like when you know something and you don't know how you know it, but you know that it's true. I remember as a child, I used to have this experience where I would say things to people and they'd say, "How do you know that?" And I would think, how do you not know that? It seems like an obvious thing. But so it can look like street smarts, or it can look like getting a download. It's kind of a clear knowing that drops in like an aha moment, which is a phrase that Oprah coined. You've had these experiences where you're like, oh, and once you know, you can't unknow. So, it feels like a mic drop, or even if you're a teacher, you might find yourself opening your mouth and saying things and you'll go, wow, that was really smart. Where did that come from? So that's all related to this gift. These downloads can also come through dreams, and that happens for me a lot. I'll dream something before it happens, and it doesn't feel scary. It's just kind of interesting, really. But it helps me to stay in a greater degree of clarity. So to develop these gifts, to honor them, is to give up knowing and to move into curiosity, to just be curious with it. And this is the way you kind of court your muse. The muse loves to be playful, so sometimes we amputate ourselves from this type of knowing because we think, oh, that's special, but it's not. You can just play with it. You can play with being clear. You can play with opening yourself up to the wisdom of divine knowing. The muse is also the queen of poetry and music and fearlessness. So if you open up to these gifts, you'll maybe start to see signs and symbols and synchronicities in your life. So the first way is to stay curious. The second way is to invite it in, just to tune in. Say, I'm open to being more tuned in. I'm open to being more clear. I would also say that if you're interested in greater clarity, you might want to move away from anything that makes you feel jagged. For me, that's caffeine, that's violent movies and TV. That's just certain things that don't make me feel clear, but make me feel agitated. So if you want greater clarity, you got to feed yourself things that are more pure. Third way is to dust off, is movement. So like dust off your bike, go out for a walk, do yoga, take a shower, wash the dishes, but to move into something and to get some movement going in your life. This is a way to distract the body's thinking so that the internal wisdom can come through. So these are some tools that can help you with clarity, and clarity is kindness, because, like we said, like if you're out of clarity, you're in pain. So this is a kindness you can give to yourself, and they will not, make everything perfect for you when you have greater clarity, but they will give you insights on how to deal with everything that is. So I wanted to close with this quote, and it's from the boy and the mole and the fox and the horse. And it says, "The greatest illusion," said the mole, "is that life should be perfect. Always remember, you matter, you're important, and you're loved. And you bring to this world things that no one else can. We often wait for kindness, but being kind to yourself can start right now. When things get difficult, remember who you are." And I just want to add to that, remember to surrender so that you can truly remember. And that's the word.
Wow. So many gems today. And it was very clear.
Well, I know you know a lot of these gems because some of the content we teach in the Maiden Voyage, we go over it. But I think it's helpful.
Oh, it's so helpful. I think all of this, like reviewing it over and over and just stepping into that personal practice with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to jump into the conversation right now. But before we do, I am going to pass it to Mary for our giving statement.
Hi. Thanks, Maureen. That was really fantastic. Just wanted to say that SpeakEasy has many events, as Maureen has and I have led you to believe, that are free or on a love donation basis. SpeakEasy is a non-for-profit community, and we exist on the generosity of our community members. We thank you for playing your part and for taking the opportunity to make a donation for today's daily bread. Your generous donations help us bring spiritual leaders, artists and speakers to Sunday service and keep important conversations going. And so today I invite you to go within and see what is yours to share. The donation link is in the chat, as well as our website, SpeakEasySpiritualCommunity.com. Thanks very much for your generous support.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, I don't know. I was very fed by today's talk, and I feel very grateful. One of the things I notice about myself is that when I am very spiritually fed, I am not as hungry physically. I actually don't need as much food. And I'm like, if I'm really, really hungry and I'm eating a lot of food, I'm like, what does my spirit need? Like, I need. So thank you.
That's interesting. That's interesting because you have the world's greatest metabolism. Like I travel with this woman and she always has like a sack of snacks. I'm like, who does that? Like,
I do. You
don't like being hungry.
No. Uh-huh. And, the whole idea of like, when you're seeking, like surrender.
It's so hard, to practice that because I think I can figure this out, and I can't figure it out until I it's not even mine to figure out.
Well, and not only that, but in many ways, the world throws all of its accolades on those people that are achieving things, that are like getting it done. And so there's a way in which a lot of my doing comes from a conditioning around that.
Mm-hmm.
And like, can I surrender all of that and just actually just be present to what life is calling me to, where I am listening for the truth of what my life is about, where I am seeing what's mine to see, where I'm feeling the truth and then knowing the truth with all of these doors to greater clarity, you know? Like, can I just let go of all that seeking and just be present?
Yes.
Let
Yes.
come. Like,
you know, the St. Francis prayer says, like, make me a channel, number one. And number two, you know, we think I'm going to be more productive than God.
Yeah, no.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to get more, like, God, look away, because I got some busy shit going on over here and I'm going to like really get some stuff done. It's like, why are you doing that? Like, you're like gathering breadcrumbs and I have a fucking, you know, banquet of food over here. And every time I turn my cheek again, I'm like, why do I torment myself thinking I've got to do this on myself, on my own? Yeah. Anyway, hey, Colum.
Hi, Colum. Always good to see you. You are muted. Will you unmute?
And a very good evening from Ireland. How's everybody?
Great. Wonderful. Now that you're here. My grandmother used to always say.
I was late getting in. I do apologize. Listen, another great session. Thank you indeed for that. And I was making notes here, a couple of things that I just, and that conversation that yourself and Bella just had, Maureen, was interesting. And the phrase "let go" was used, and it was one of the things I wrote down. So, you know, what you did yesterday, you decided to close the laptop and let go.
Yeah.
And the phrase let go and let God came to mind. And I just think it's such a powerful phrase. A story in the Bible where the guys are traveling across the lake and there's a storm and our Lord's asleep because, you know, it's all fine. It's all under control, right? And finally they wake up and say, like, don't you care? We're about to drown here. He said, lads, relax, it's fine. And of course it was fine, and it is fine. And it just struck me that I read some time ago, and you know, what you did was you let go, and of course the inspiration came to you. Yeah. You know, you didn't force it.
Right.
And it was perfect. As Bella said, there was great clarity in it. But it was given to you, so you were open to receiving. But there was a story that I read where Barbra Streisand, I'm sure most of us would know Barbra Streisand, she didn't perform on stage for 27 years. Don't know if you knew that.
Wow.
But she performed on stage. Now, Barbra Streisand, in my opinion, has the best voice in the world, bar none. But she didn't perform on stage for 27 years, which is just unbelievable. And when she was asked why, she said, I had stage fright. Now, Barbra Streisand getting the stage fright, you know, and the interviewer asked, well, what changed? And she said, I decided to let go and let God.
And there you have it in a nutshell.
All right, so I just want to throw that into the mix and see where that leads. All right.
Thank you, Colum.
It really also illustrates, like, it doesn't matter how talented you are or how good you are at something. There's going to be things in life where it's just time to let go.
Yeah, let go or get dragged, right? You know, like that woman was dragged for 26 years in her own fear, or 27 years. Like let that be a lesson to us. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Bella and I have coached people into getting into the water in Lake Superior. It's cold AF. Once you get in, but as Mary got us into some waters in Ireland, once you get in, it's a little, you know, it's bearable, but the pain point is moving.
Yeah.
The pain point is actually surrendering all of my fears and just moving into action.
But I want to also say, like, when we were doing that, we were demonstrating, like, we're in the water and we're okay. And I think that that's sort of the divine message, is like, whatever it is you think you're not okay, like you'll actually be okay. Go ahead and jump in. Go ahead and let go. Like it actually will be okay.
Yeah.
There's an encouragement there. We've got 2 hands raised.
Yeah. iPhone, what you have to share.
Yeah. Who is iPhone? Let us know who you are.
Just unmute yourself.
We see eyebrows. And yeah, you've got to unmute.
And why don't we hear from...
Hi, it's Kelly. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm the iPhone. Sorry, I need to get it changed to my name.
Okay.
Anyway, I've been participating in your message each week and haven't really joined in much, but I'm in San Diego and I'm blind. And I just wanted to point out a couple of things that blindness is a blessing, which I think could be a good book, by the way, that I'll think about writing. But based on your talk today, there's a couple of things that I have to do as a blind gal. I have to pay attention and be in the present moment because I have to know every step I take and count it to know where I am. And so when I'm counting my steps and walking, I can't be thinking about something else, or guess what happens? I run into something, I fall, I wipe out, I hurt myself. I also have a guide dog, which is the most amazing thing in the world. His name is Caspian. And now we're talking about guidance and allowing something to guide you. So when I let go and I let him guide and trust in him 100%, I'm okay. Gosh. When I don't and I try and guide him, I wipe out and run into things. So today's talk was really meaningful to me. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelly. And yeah, if you need help writing that book, you're in the right community. And it sounds like a really worthy and noble book. I mean, you just kind of just shared it with us, just even as is. You could do a children's book. So beautiful. The blessings of blindness. God bless you. That's so gorgeous and generous. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Christy.
Hi guys, thanks for putting this on. It's been brilliant. I just wanted to share really, thank you for your speech, Maureen, about the same book about the boy, the fox, the mole, and the horse. And the best line I got from that was when the boy says to the horse, "What's the bravest thing you ever did?" And the horse said, "Ask for help." And that just rings round and round and round in my brain, like this ask for help, because we got Holy Spirit for that, And if I don't remember just that little tidbit of information, I am always in trouble, every single time. Anyway, thank you guys for letting me speak.
Yeah, that's so great, Christy. And the other sentence that comes after, the bravest thing is to ask for help, is when he says, because asking for help isn't giving up. It's a show that you're determined not to give up. I just love that.
Beautiful. Wow.
I just love that.
It's
so great.
Yeah, thank you, Christy. Denise
Rose, we love you so much, Denise Rose.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Something just occurred to me when Colin mentioned that Barbara Streisand didn't perform for 27 years. It's crazy. But I saw a special recently with her son. Can't remember his name, something Gold. But he is a beautiful performer. He's got a gorgeous voice. And he never wanted to sing because he was afraid of having to measure up to his, mother's talents. But I'm also thinking in that time that she was off, that might have been a blessing. I don't know what the time frame was, but she was developing her child into the world. So she stood back, but look what she was developing. So that was just
that is so beautiful, because you know what? Love will seek whatever form it's given. It's like, you don't want to sing? All right, I'm going to come through your son. It's like, but I will not be prevented from expressing greater good into the world. Love just will find the form and push through. Thanks.
Yeah. So look for the video of it. They just performed together, and it was like hair standing up on your arms with their harmony, and it was the first time they performed together.
Wow. Is that on YouTube or where is it?
I don't know. I saw it somewhere recently. It was an interview with him.
Okay. Well, I guess if you Google Barbara Streisand and her son, we'll find it.
But he's wonderfully talented and beautiful gift.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. And thank you for coming. It's so good to see you here.
It's so good to see you. We got a little note from Elizabeth. I love this movie so much. You've shared it. I got to tell Elizabeth something so beautifully, so much wisdom and beauty in the film and the sermon. Yeah. Elizabeth, this sermon was actually sort of inspired by hearing you blab on about it. And I never really got to hear the whole thing about it, but I remember then one of the calls, the Miracles Live 365 calls, you were like, I could hear your love for this book, this film. So that when I sat down last night with my husband, I was like, let's just watch something easy. And we saw this thing. I'm like, oh yeah, Elizabeth likes that. Let's put that on. Like, so you inspired this. And that's why we're in community together, because we get to weave these threads together of our wisdom and our love. So thank you, Reverend Elizabeth. And I hope to hear you coming up and sharing some more words and wisdom with us, and Column as well, and anybody else who has a sermon that's percolating in their bones.
It looks like Joni may have posted.
Yeah, that's the song with her.
Okay. Well, and I just want to honor also in the chat Amber Rose, who asked for help this morning and was reluctant to post about it, to be so vulnerable, but she chose to anyway, because she says here, as I shared, if I didn't, I couldn't say or feel that I was doing my best, giving it my all. That's exactly what you're saying, like not giving up, like really in the asking for help.
Yes.
Thanks, Amber Rose.
Yeah. And God, it's so beautiful. We think that, when we hit the pinnacle of success on the top of the mountain is where we're most beautiful. And it's not always true. It's like when we're down in the valley and we still got a light going, it's like, oh, look at you, magnificent. I was sharing earlier before people got on that there's someone in my family who's struggling with mental health. And I say, like, how do you feel on a scale from 1 to 10? And sometimes they're at a 4. And that's the truth of what is. And we can be with the truth of what is. We can be with the truth of what is. And that will come and go. Life isn't this illusion of perfection. It is a beautiful roller coaster ride with ups and downs, and we're in it together, but none of it needs to be shamed. Not being, visible on the peak and not being down in the valley. We are all going to visit those locations.
Yeah. Yeah. And to just surrender into each of those moments.
Right. To not take any of them personally or seriously. No fame, no blame. That's what the ego will say. Look what I did, or look what I did. And it's like, no, this is just what's passing through today.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well,
we get another song, huh?
Yeah, I was going to say, this has been a wonderful conversation, and we'd love to hear from all of you on how you're doing with surrendering, and any miracles or breakthroughs. And at the beginning of each service, we celebrate. So next week and the week after and the week after that, come share in the celebrations what's been happening for you with this. And with that, I am going
I would just like to make one more announcement. You see people adding their voice today. We had Mary and Richard, and we just had our amazing prayer practitioner, Carly. You can play those parts in our community if you want to. And after the service next week, we'll have a little gathering where you can learn about the different positions that are played on in this game called SpeakEasy. And if you would like to be a part of that, we would love to have you play your part. We have scripts for everyone. It's super easy to follow. And again, it just assists you in connecting with community members and being, finding your voice, your visibility and your value in this particular community. And we welcome and welcome and welcome it. Right, Bella? Is there anything else?
Yes, and yes. Yeah, I just, I'm thinking like, a week from tomorrow, we're going to start the Artist Way. And if you feel any blocks to your creativity, this is the class for you. Come join us. And the link is in the chat. And I have personally done it like 5 times. And every time I feel blocked, I want to jump back in there because it makes such a difference. And it's going to be a magnificent ride. I see John's got his hand up. John, did you want to share something before we?
I just wanted to ask, where could we see that movie and which venue? Boy, the horror.
It's on Apple, and I put the YouTube thing in there.
It's on Apple.
But it's on Apple.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and Joni put a link to that.
I put a link to the trailer.
Yeah, you got to scroll up in the chat, but
don't just watch it. Like, go get yourself a little mug of coffee or tea and cuddle up on the couch and just let yourself really be with it. You know, don't just consume it, savor it.
You know, that book, I received 3 copies of that last year. That it was such a gift that people were giving. It's such a beautiful book. So the book is quite good too.
Thanks, Joni.
There's music coming our way now with the beautiful Tembra. So I'm going to sing along with you, and I invite everyone else to as well. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I'm going to do a song that's called One Heart Beating by a woman called Sue Kirkpatrick. So there's a few parts. So as I did before, I'm just going to sing them through, and you can join me. And then we can layer them up and see what happens. So it goes. We are one world, one voice, one heart beating. We are one world, one voice, one heart beating. We are one world, one voice, one heart beating. We are one world, one voice, one heart beating. We are one world, one voice, one heart beating. So that's the most simple part, if you feel like you want to do that part. And then we've got another part which is a bit more wordy, and it goes: everybody living in this world, everybody with a voice, let's use it. Everybody living in this world, one heart beating. Everybody living in this world, everybody with a voice, let's use it. Everybody living in this world, one heart beating. Everybody living in this world, everybody with a voice, let's use it. Everybody living in this world, one heart beating. Everybody living in this world, everybody with a voice, let's use it. Everybody living in this world, one heart beating. Gorgeous. I'm sure you sound brilliant. And then there's a third part which goes a little bit higher. So some of us like to sing a bit higher. Some of us like to be more on the ground. Some of up in the sky. So this bit just goes: we are one world. We are one heart beating. We are one world, one heart beating. We are one world. We are one heart beating. We are one world, one heart beating. We are one world. We are one heart beating. We are one gorgeous. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sing them all the way through, starting with the first part, and then I'll bring in a second part, and then I'll bring in the third. But you can either just follow me, or you can stay with one part. It's kind of fun, really. And the fourth is your just total creation of everything put together, whatever you want to sing in the moment. So being in the moment with your voice and your song, and knowing that however way you sing is all welcome right now, here, and that no one's really listening, maybe just the walls of your house, or maybe your pet or your neighbor, but really you can just kind of give it a go. Let go and sing. So here we go from the beginning. So we are one world, one voice, one heart beating. We are one world, one voice, one heart. And the second part goes, everybody living in this world, everybody with a voice, let's use it. Everybody living in this world, one heart beating. Everybody living in this world, everybody with a voice, let's use it. Everybody living in this world, one heart. And the third part goes, we are one world, we are one heart beating. We are one world, one heart beating. We are one world, we are one heart beating. We are one world, one heart beating. We are one world, one voice, one heart beating. We are one world, one voice, one heart beating. We are everybody living in this world, everybody with a voice, let's use it. Everybody living in this world, one heart beating. We are one world, one voice, one heart beating. We are one world, one voice, one heart beating. We are everybody living in this world, everybody with a voice, let's use it. Everybody living in this world, just one more time. We are one world, one voice, one heart beating. We are one world, one voice, one heart beating. Oh, gorgeous. I'm sure you sounded amazing.
That was so fun. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for showing up today. Thank you, Maureen, for your amazing message. Thank you, everyone that was a part of this service. And surrender. Go ahead, surrender. Yeah. Let God, and watch the miracles unfold. Thank you all for joining us. God bless.
Bye.